Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone to MACFEST 2024. Wherever you're joining us from, we are saying hello from France, from England, and different parts of England. So tell us in the chat where you're sitting in the world. My name is Katarzyna. I am a member of the MACFEST team. And today we've got a really nice event, calligraphy with Samar Farooq. We're going to have a presentation and a demonstration. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat or Q&A portal. Any comments, any thoughts, share with us. We will pick up all the questions towards the end. And on behalf of MACFEST, I'd like to thank you for all your donations and all your positive comments. We do rely on your donations to create all these wonderful events for you. Most of them are free. Please check Eventbrite because we do have quite a few coming up still until the end of the festival this year. And subscribe to our newsletters. Stay connected on social media with us. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. And if you or your friends for some reason missed today's event, you can go to Facebook and replay the webinar. Use our hashtag #SpreadHoney, And today's host is Dr. Ryan Humphrey. He's a lecturer in arts and cultural management at the University of Manchester, specializing in community arts and cultural policy. Alongside his work at the university, Ryan is a community music practitioner, delivering music sessions across a range of contexts and demographics. A specific area of focus has been working with care experienced children. So over to you, Ryan.
Thank you very much. It's so lovely to be here, and I hope everybody is doing well. So we're very, very lucky today to have Samar Farooq joining us. So Samar is a chartered accountant and a chartered tax advisor based in the UK who accidentally fell into the beautiful world of calligraphy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Samar specializes in Arabic calligraphy in Chinese style and also has a keen interest in Fatimid and Almoravid Kufic scripts. For her, calligraphy serves as a way of purifying of the soul, and she wishes to inspire others in the same way. For Samar, calligraphy is a way of expressing her inner self in the form of art, and the hadith that has always inspired her, Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. Welcome, Samar, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about your work and seeing your work as well this afternoon. It's going to be a really great afternoon, I'm sure.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good afternoon, good morning, if you're not in the afternoon zone, and Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much. First of all, I'm really lucky to have here giving me this opportunity to explore this beautiful world of calligraphy with your audience and share some of my work. My background is actually finance, just a little bit on myself. My background is actually finance, and I've never done any calligraphy before 2021 or any type of arts. But as I said, I just accidentally fell into calligraphy when my teacher actually started following me on Instagram. And because it was COVID, I had some free time. I thought I'll just give it a bit of a try, and the rest is history. Alhamdulillah, it became a real passion, such that I'm now starting to learn Fusha Arabic and going much more deeper into the world of Arabic, not just calligraphy. We can share our slides. Next one. So that's a bit of a background about myself. I work in finance. I qualified as a chartered accountant and chartered tax advisor. Again, I've started calligraphy as just an accident rather than any keen interest in it. My teacher, Hajinoor Deen, you may have heard of him. He's a master calligrapher, a real big specialist in this field. Of course, he's from China and he specializes in Chinese Arabic style. I've studied under him for 3 years. I completed his book, nearly 180 assignments from his book. And I also have developed a keen interest in, during that time, in Kufic script. And recently I just got my ijaza, which is a certificate of mastery. Although I think as a calligrapher, you're always a student, from master calligrapher Muhammad Abu Zaid from Fez in Morocco. I've put my Instagram details, accounts, handle, whatever it's called here, if you want to see my work. Next, please. So in terms of calligraphy, there are many styles. You've got sulus, you've got nasr, you've got riqa, you've got Fatimid Kufic, you've got Muhaqqaq Kufic, a lot of them. This is Chinese Arabic, which is actually a very unique style, but it's quite different as well. In calligraphy, a master-student relationship is very important, because you're learning from somebody who already has a lot of experience and knowledge, and she passes on to you. From my own experience, I always say calligraphy is about 3 Ps. You really need to have patience, perseverance, and practice a lot, especially with the cursive script, which is Chinese, where you will use these type of columns, wooden columns. Practice is key. They say you need to at least practice an hour a day to keep that flow with you. Of course, when you're writing calligraphy, especially if you're writing Quranic verses, these are very divine words. They have much more value than any other, normal script or any words you would write. So it's quite important that you physically and spiritually, internally are in a clean state. But these things are very important to me, because what are you writing actually serves as a zikr, a remembrance of the divine. Next, please. So what are the key things in Chinese calligraphy? So of course, in any calligraphy, paper is very important. In Chinese specifically, you use rice paper, which is also known Xuan paper. It's actually quite expensive these days. So if you want to practice, you can use flip chart paper or greaseproof paper. Pen, qalam is another thing which is quite important. Usually people use very thin qalam to do the sulus or nask script. But here you use very broad, as you can see here. This is, I think, 2 centimeter qalam. In Chinese script, you wrap the qalam with cloth. Because the qalam is quite broad, it won't absorb the ink, the wood. So you have to wrap the qalam with a cloth so that the ink gets absorbed. Now, you would ask what cloth material you can use. Usually, it really depends on what type of paper you're using. So if you're using greaseproof versus flip chart versus Xuan rice paper, it all depends on the texture. So I use kind of a nylon crepe type of paper, cloth, but it's a very trial and error experience depending on your paper as well. Ink, I think you can use any ink, but because it's Chinese, we're told that it's, the best ink is to suit the Xuan paper as well. How you use the ink is very different to a normal calligraphy. I don't know if I can share with you, this is my very old ink pot, but what you do is you put sponge in it. So you've got, this is the sponge I use, any sponge, you wash your dishes with. You put that in your ink pot. You need a very wide mouth ink pot because your qalam is quite wide. So you put the sponge in it, and then you soak the sponge with ink and let the sponge absorb that ink. Why is that necessary? Because the qalam, if you remember, has got cloth in it. If you directly dip the cloth in the ink, it will be really wet. And as soon as you'll start writing on your paper, the paper will really bleed. The ink will be everywhere. So it's very important that you use the sponge in your ink pot, because that will make sure that your ink doesn't bleed on the paper because the ink is absorbed in the sponge. Okay, so Chinese calligraphy is actually incomplete without stamps. So you need to have one stamp on the right. And let me show you first my stamp boxes. So I've got these stamps, which are actually individual 3 stamps. And one says Alhamdulillah, one says Allahu Akbar or something. And then I've got these stamps. These are actually my names, these 2. And this, if you closely see it, there's a yin-yang effect. Can't put my fingers right. So yin-yang effect. One is dark, one is light. And then this one says Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, if I show you like this. But it's a stamp, so it goes like this. Let me share some with you. So they're very beautiful stamps, actually. They're on marble type of stone. So can you see this one? So of course, how I remember how to put it correctly is your thumb needs to be on the Chinese side. So if my thumb is here, I'll just put it like this. When I'll do the demonstration, I'll show you how to put stamps. And then you've got this one as well, which is the Bismillah Rahman Rahim I showed. Again, the Arabic side, I'll put my thumb on so I remember which way goes up and down. So that's it. In Chinese, it's a tradition to use the red ink. Some can use gold ink as well if you want to make it a little bit more pretty. And actually, you need a lot of tissue when you're doing Chinese calligraphy because the ink can bleed, or this red stamp ink can become quite messy. I don't know if you can see it. So I have to put a cover on it. And then it's got a really beautiful little pot. Again, when I'll do the demonstration, then I'll show you how you use this ink to stamp your artwork. Can I have the slide, please, so I can just see? Yeah. In Chinese calligraphy, or in any calligraphy, actually, strokes are very important. I think in Chinese, it's more important because your qalam is quite wide. So your effect, of the ink and the yin-yang needs to come. I'll show you one piece here, actually. You'll see what I mean here. So your strokes need to have a flow. This is actually just a practice, but you can see the yin-yang effect. Some are light, some are dark. So this effect also comes because you've got a much wider qalam with cloth wrapped on it. So these are the materials you use in Chinese script. Of course, when you're doing the brush Chinese calligraphy, you use a brush, which is just a normal Chinese brush. If I have time, I'll try to do a little demonstration with that as well. So these are my teacher, Hajinoor Deen. There's a video link attached to it. He's done a beautiful video to show how to wrap the qalam. Now, wrapping the qalam is the most important thing because if your qalam is not wrapped properly in the cloth, your writing will have many errors, and it's quite visible, if you've got experience of this calligraphy. So when I'm doing the demonstration, actually, I can maybe do it now because I'll be using another qalam. So if you look at this is my qalam. You can see there's a little slant here. It's going down. This is where you keep it to yourself and then wrap it. I'll just bring the cloth material. So this is the cloth material you can see. You put it and then push it really down and then turn it towards yourself. This is how you wrap always the qalam. The folding side is always towards yourself so that these ends get sharp edges. And when you write, it doesn't have any errors, on your paper. If you wrap it the other way around, you can see the writing will not flow properly. And then you use a thread and you wrap it. I don't know if you can see a thread here very closely. So you just wrap it around. So these are all the equipments we use in Chinese calligraphy. It's not like a normal sulus or nask calligraphy which you can do in a small space. You need a lot of space to do this style of calligraphy because the qalam is very broad. So your writing will be very broad. One thing I've noticed, because the qalam is broad, your hand movement really needs to be on the paper rather than just sitting and writing. And for that, I always prefer standing rather than sitting, because then my hand movement is much better on the table. The next, please, slide. So now I'll show you what different types of Chinese scripts, Arabic scripts are. So the earlier ones are, if you see this one, this is Muhaqqaq Chinese. This is written mainly for writing the Quran. So it's very much like your Muhaqqaq or Naskh or Sulus, which is written with a very, very tiny kalam. Next slide, please. These are some of the old pictures, some of the calligraphy in the mosques of China. I personally have never visited China, but I would really like to visit and explore more, history on the calligraphy. Next slide, please. So, don't know if you can see it, read it. So one of the main type of Chinese script is broad column. So the broad column I just showed you, this is what a broad column is. It comes in different sizes. I think the minimum you should use is 10 mm, which is 1 centimeter. But the broader, the better. Your calligraphy will look much more beautiful. I think the broadest one I have used so far is 3 centimeter, but my teacher sometimes uses 5 centimeter. So of course you need a lot bigger paper and space for that. So you'll see here, I've written Ya Wadud and Ya Salamu. This is with a broader column. Next slide, please. Then the second type is the brush style, which I showed you the brush. You write it upside, no, from top to bottom, not upside down, top to bottom, and just literally in Chinese way, but you're writing Arabic. So you can see here, I've written Allahumma ajirni minan nar, and with a brush. And you'll also see the stamps and the name as well in Chinese. Any Chinese calligraphy without a stamp is totally incomplete. Next, please. Now, this one is a little bit like Kufic script, but it's very much hand-drawn. There's no geometry, involved in it, such that we don't use a graph paper or a column or a column like this or a brush like this. We hand draw in a design. So this says Astaghfirullah, and it's the Min kulli zambin atubu alayhi. So this is all hand drawn. I drew it and I made sure that it's balanced and proportioned. And then you just paint it. You transfer it on your watercolor paper and you paint it. Next, please. This one is very laborious, but has become one of my favorites. This is called pictorial style. So here you'll find a picture and you just fill it in with calligraphy. So I don't know if we can zoom in this picture a little bit more. This picture is based on Prophet Yunus dua, which is La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. And the reason I've used the shape of the fish because he was stuck in the belly of the whale and he made this dua. So that's the context. But you can have a vase, you can have anything, a seashore or something, and you just create calligraphy in it. Of course, the main idea behind any calligraphy, and especially Chinese calligraphy, because it doesn't have that many strict rules, it needs to look balanced and proportion to your eye. So here the picture looks okay, the calligraphy looks okay, but there's no strict geometric rules because it's all hand-drawn. So that's another style, pictorial. And next slide, please. And the last one is what I just mentioned to you is Muhaqqaq. Now this has much more geometry because you write in Quran with it, and it is also very much similar to Sulus or Muhaqqaq, original Muhaqqaq style. So this is purely used for writing Quranic verses or Quranic scripts. Thanks. Next slide, please. So, of course, as Ryan mentioned in my intro, this hadith really inspires me to create beautiful work. Also, just a bit of information. I have done workshops in Cambridge University, for Robinson College, for the Islamic Society. I'm now branching out into corporate world. I did 2 workshops for UBS Bank just to promote mental health well-being associated with arts, because I know I work in a very corporate, very cutthroat and very deadline driven environment, and how it has helped me. So that's what I want to promote within the corporate world as well. So yeah, thank you.
Amazing, fantastic, Samar. That was so interesting. Yeah, so we could probably move just straight on, if you're ready, straight into kind of doing the practical activity, unless anybody's kind of got any questions and they feel like they want to put them into the Zoom chat as you're setting up, because I know there's a bit of setup time
Yeah.
to have. I mean, one of the things that I was really interested in knowing more about is, for people who may be on this call and who may have never done this before, what do you think is the hardest skill set the hardest part of this that somebody may have to develop and spend a lot of time practicing or developing?
So I think the hardest bit is really getting the time out and becoming disciplined about the practice. Without practice, nobody can excel in any script. So for me, it was because of the COVID, there was time. I was really dedicating. I was doing 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. Like, it was really becoming a passion. So I would say that is the hardest bit, to really make the commitment. If you're serious, you have to practice.
Yeah.
The other hardest bit I've always found, which I did mention, is wrapping this cloth on the kalam. If you don't get this right, you will not get your writing right.
Yeah, I can imagine that being a bit of a challenge. We have got a question that's just come through, actually, from MACFEST S. So what is the origin of the stamps?
So I'm not exactly sure about the question, how to answer, but what my understanding is that Chinese calligraphy is incomplete without stamps. So if you look at any Chinese calligrapher piece, not just Islamic, but any original Chinese calligraphy, they always have stamps. Even if it's one stamp, it's like a signature for them. You know, their name is in that stamp. So it's like a signature. But here in Chinese calligraphy, we usually have 3. Our teacher usually has 3 stamps. 2 are for your signature, which is the yin-yang effect I mentioned before. And I think there is a little bit of flexibility. So one can have your name, and one can have your origin, where you're from, maybe country. So people can recognize where you're from, you know, where this work is from. The other one, which is always goes on the right-hand side at the top, I think it's more for blessing, because you're either writing in the name of Allah, or you're writing barakah, or you're writing Allahu Akbar, or La ilaha illallah. All my stamps are all, you know, Islamic Quranic verses, not verses, but statements. So that's more for barakah.
Fantastic, thank you. That's so interesting. We just had a question come through from Anne as well. So Anne says, do you make the stamps yourself, or do you buy them?
Oh gosh, I wish I was that much talented to make my stamps. I'll be in a good business. No, I had to buy them. I bought them from China, my teacher. Yeah. And he knew how to write the name and everything. But I think on Etsy before, I bought one, and I could get my English and Chinese both names on the stamp.
Amazing, fantastic. So yeah, so for anybody that's on the call, that's particularly interested after this session, which I'm sure there'll be lots of people, Etsy looks like the place to go to buy some stamps.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I mean, you don't have to have your name. I mean, on Amazon, you find some really floral stamps, Chinese. All you need is red ink, and just put, you know, unless you really are into this type of script and you want your name and everything. But they are not cheap. They're quite expensive.
How much are you talking?
So the Etsy one, I paid 35 pounds for one stamp. I mean, these 6 stamps cost me $400.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, and how long would a stamp last for? Can you just reuse it, or is there this kind of certain lifespan on them?
I think they can last for a long time unless you break them or chip them something, you know, drop them or something. So I try to keep them really safe, but I think they do have a long life.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I don't need to buy them ever again.
Yeah, that would be the hope. I think I would not be as good, actually. I think I would probably break them very, very quickly. I think I'm a bit too heavy-handed, probably. What would another question then, just in case anybody else has got any other questions that they want to ask, feel free to put them into the chat box, and then it won't just be me asking questions, because I've already had the chance and fantastic opportunity to chat to Samar a few times. But say for instance, for children, for instance, I mean, what would be the ideal age, do you think, for people to start getting into Chinese calligraphy or calligraphy in general? Kind of what age range would be good?
I would say teenage, at least 13. So you can hold the qalam properly, you know, you can manage the equipment properly, otherwise ink, everything will be dropping. I mean, as in my 40s, I do that. But I think, yeah, in general, I think teenage, you'll get more maturity with that to deal with, you know,
Yeah.
the script. And of course, sometimes, or most of the time, we're writing very divine words. So you need to make sure that they're respected properly as well.
Fantastic. What is it like drew you to actually, you know, getting interested in calligraphy?
So, as I said, I had no interest ever really in arts because I've never done it. But of course, looking at it is, you know, looks nice to the eye, but I would never have been able to recognize which script it is. It was only, and you know, we planned, but there is a divine plan always, I believe in it, that my teacher started following me randomly on Instagram. And I wasn't doing anything on Instagram, I only maybe had 20 followers, but it was just as it happened. And it was the third lockdown we were entering into. So I thought, okay, let me just try a little bit because my daughter is quite artistic. So just seeing her, I thought, okay, maybe I'll just try a little bit. And my first assignment was, I failed actually. I was told to do it again. That was the only, I think I'm hoping, the only assignment I failed. And then I think because you're practicing and you're just trying to get perfect, it just became a passion. And I mean, coming from a tax background, I've always said that I cannot do a tax return until I know the tax rules, right? So for me, the calligraphy went to that level that I'm like, I'm writing something, but I don't know what it means. And then, you know, that journey, the spiritual journey really started for me. I started learning, it's been 2 years, I'm learning Arabic. First time ever, I picked up the Quran to read the proper meaning. Like, you know, you read it in a parrot fashion, manner, whatever the word is. And then you don't understand it. And that's what was happening to me when I was writing it. I was like, okay, I'm writing it, but I need to understand what I'm writing because, you know, it's so personal. And then really, it really had opened a lot of doors for me. But I mean, it's really amazing now for me, especially in the Fatimid Kufic script, or even in Chinese, actually, how it's composing anything is like a problem solving. It really mentally stimulates me. So for me, making a composition is not just art, but it's a lot more. You know, it really mentally stimulates you.
And provides that sense of well-being as well, because you know you've mentioned that a few times in your you mentioned it a few times in your presentation, and also you spoke about how you had been doing it for different organizations, and I think you know that's a testament to kind of arts and cultural activity in the sense of it can provide that really nice experience and nice opportunity to kind of take yourself out of whatever it is that you're experiencing at that moment in time and just enjoy making some art. And it seems like that's really shone through for you.
Yeah, no, very lucky, yeah. I really enjoy it.
Particularly being a tax advisor as well, I imagine that's quite a stressful job. I would not be very good at that.
Well, I say tax is quite creative in its own way.
Transferable skills. So that takes us to about 30 minutes of the way through, and we kind of planned for kind of anywhere between up to an hour-ish. So shall we take kind of a 5-minute, 10-minute break? Should we say 10 minutes, Samar? That'll give you enough time to get set up for this.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Tell me a bit about yourself. What's your interest in art?
Yeah, so yeah.
Are you an artist yourself?
So well, I'm a musician, so
Oh, mashallah.
yeah, so I'm a community music practitioner, based in the northeast of England. So play a lot of ukulele, saxophone, piano, guitar, so a mixture.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you teach at the University of Manchester?
Yeah, so I work for the University of Manchester in what's called the Institute for Cultural Practices, which is where we postgraduate programs, and we've got 2 BAs starting in September. And our programs are really kind of practice-based. So we've got degree programs in art management, we've got degree programs in art gallery and museum studies in the creative and cultural industries and heritage studies. So we've got kind of a range of mixture of degree programs available. So it's a really good cohort.
That's right. And you've heard about our MACFEST First Arts Awards? We've
Yes.
actually launched it recently.
Oh, amazing. Fantastic.
And that's open to all Muslim artists over the age of 18 and Northwest artists in 4 categories: calligraphy, painting, drawing, as well as photography. So those of people who are listening to us, I hope you can pass the information on to your friends, your colleagues, any fellow artists. And all the information is on our MACFEST website, Arts Award page. So we've got deadline till the 30th of June, so people can submit their work. And calligraphy is one of our very special art form. We've had a number of calligraphy workshops in Whitworth Art Gallery, and we've got summers today. And then we have another one with another Samir, a man, Samir Malik. So we're looking forward to that. And this morning we were in Bolton, would you believe? And we had a felting workshop and met local Boltonian artists, members of the public, and it was fantastic, mashallah. And I'm really thankful to all the people who are joining us, including members of my family, for giving us their time on a Saturday, particularly such a nice warm day. And people got other things to do, but here we are in this special event. And again, a special thank you to people like Bung. He's sitting in Jakarta. So Bung, do you want to say something in the chat? What time is it there at this moment in time? He's actually going to be doing a session for us all the way from Indonesia in the summer. And he will describe to you in a little message in the chat what he's offering, celebrating guitars, for example, in the shape of art, and also batik art. So Bung, if you don't mind, oh, there it is. It is 8:37 now, sister, he says. So this is in Jakarta, mashallah. So Bung, write down what you're doing in your event, and so you can promote it so people will join you then.
Welcome back, Samar.
Thank you. Thanks,
Are
Ryan.
you ready to go?
Yes, can everybody see my screen and the paperweights and everything?
Yeah, we can.
Excellent. So actually, these are also very important tools because the paper is so big, it can slide. So you will need always paperweights to put on your paper so that it stays.
They're gorgeous paperweights.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. And I don't know if you can see me, but I'm standing. So this is my table. I can never do Chinese calligraphy while sitting down. It's just because the column is so big, I really need to move my hand. So I'll do the demonstration now. So this is my column and this is my ink. So I'm gonna put my column in the ink. The word I'm going to write is Subhanallah. So I'm hoping you can see it properly. Maybe I just move it a little here. And then you can see how my hand moves. Yeah, I think that's better. So I'll start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, your camera needs to be just here. Okay. Actually, the chat is on. So yeah, that's better now. So I can see, you can see my camera. Yeah, no, sorry. Qalam. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You see it? The subhanallah. And then I'll do the Allah. If I move the camera here, you can see. Is it visible?
Yeah, it is. It looks great.
Thank you. Of course, the ink, maybe we'll need more ink. This is a very much trial and error with consistency of the ink, the paper, and the qalam and the cloth. So this you'll learn a lot with more practice. So if I do a little bit more, you can see there is more ink. So yeah, this is a demonstration. So you can see I'm standing, the column is quite wide, so I need to move my hand. If you just see it here, what I've written Allah. So my hand is moving a lot rather than just sitting and writing like this. I'm not writing like this. I'm moving my hand. And that's why, because the size of the qalam is so broad, you need a much larger paper. And that's the reason why I prefer, and I think mostly the teacher also says, it's better to do it when you're standing up, because then your hand can just move. Any?
Samar, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
There's one actually from my brother, Professor Bakar. He says, please describe how this pen is different from a standard Arabic calligraphy pen.
Sure. So the standard Arabic calligraphy pen is a bamboo pen, which is very tiny. I think usually when people write in sulus or especially in nasq, it's 1 or 2 mm, which actually this is 30 mm or 20 mm. So can you, I don't have that column. Just give me 1 second. I might be able to just quickly bring it. So I don't do that style of calligraphy. So if you see this nib, this will be what, 1 mm. So if you just widen it a little bit more, that's your column size for the normal script. Whereas this one, you can see how wide it is.
Yes.
And I'll show you what it looks like without the cloth. It is all wood. It's all wood.
Oh, yeah.
So for the normal column, because your column is so, for normal calligraphy, your column is so small, I can just dip it a little in the ink and start writing. It won't bleed. But imagine if I were to dip this, or, I mean, this will get very dried. That's the reason we use the cloth. But imagine if I dip this cloth wrapped qalam in just pure ink, watery ink, and then start writing, how much ink there will be on the paper. That's the reason we use sponge, so that the ink gets soaked. I don't know if you can see the sponge here. There's a sponge here.
Yeah, we can just about see it.
Yeah. I don't want to take it out with my hands because of the ink. What I'll do is I'll do another demonstration now, and then I'll show you how to use the stamps.
Yeah, that would be great.
Again, this is pretty much A3 or A3 size paper. So you're using quite a, I mean, the one thing about this calligraphy is you use a lot of paper.
And how long does the ink take to dry? Is it quick or does it?
So it depends on the consistency. It's pretty dry straight away. But when you're using the shwan paper, which is a rice paper, it can bleed and tear the shwan paper, which could be, which is not ideal because the ink starts bleeding. So you've got to get the consistency right. I'll try to do what I did before. You may enjoy that. Now, can you see the yin-yang effect?
Yeah, we can. It looks great.
So this is how you'll do your composition. Of course, this is not a composition, but if you write something, and then here your stamp, one stamp will go on right-hand side at the top, and then your name comes here, and then one stamp will go here. So what I'll do is I'll now do the stamp so you can see. So I'll use the Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim one, which means in the name of the Lord, the most gracious, the most merciful. And this is my ink. I have to be very careful because it gets a little messy. So I'll have to use a tissue. And I wrap it in the plastic thing, because if you see, you know, if you touch it and then you touch your artwork, then everything is just kind of wasted then. So here is the stamp. So I'll have to hold it from this side because I know it will then go in the right direction. And I'll take it out. So this ink is very like a very thick jelly type. It's not liquidy. As you can see it here, I'm doing this. It's not dropping or anything. And then you put it here. Maybe I can just do it here so you can see. And put it here. Comes out. Now, if I just turn the camera, you can see.
Yeah, it looks great.
So that's your stamp. And of course, the other stamps will come here and your name will come here. But it, as you can see, you have to be very careful with this. It does get a bit messy. That's why I put it in a tissue and in a bag. So that's your demonstration for the stamp as well.
Amazing, fantastic.
I absolutely love this effect. And you only get it because of the big column and the cloth material. A bit like, I think what these days Persians are doing in Iran, they use a big column and they write. So they've got this, a bit of this effect, Chinese effect. The other thing I just want to mention is in Chinese, it's quite important that you get your ends very sharp. So for example, if I'm writing noon, can you see the sharpness?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so this is, you know, really, my teacher was very strict about it because this creates the beauty.
We've had another question in from Professor Wakar again. So where can you buy the inks, stamps, and kalam if you wanted to try it? So I know we've said before the stamps are Etsy. What about the ink and the kalam?
So you mean the red ink or the normal Chinese ink?
Well, maybe both. On this.
Sure. The Chinese ink and the red ink is available on Amazon or Etsy. If you look around eBay, it's not difficult. I mean, if people want to get in touch with me, by all means, please message me on Instagram. I'm very happy to help and share some links for material. And the qalam is a problem, actually. Very limited places to buy the qalam. So this qalam is not cheap. Again, this hobby is not a cheap, you know, it's an expensive hobby. I got this one qalam for $15. And I had to buy them in a set of 3, so nearly $50 plus the postage and all that. But I think on Etsy, if you Google broad qalam, then this type of qalam comes. And this is equally good enough. And I think these are quite reasonable, £4 or £5.
Wow. So it looks like Etsy is going to be the place where we're all going to have to go after this session today.
Not China. But if anybody has got questions, I'm very happy. Please do get in touch with me through Instagram is the best way. And, you know, if anybody is interested in future events or anything, or learning or anything.
Fantastic. Could you just remind us of what your Instagram handle is?
Yeah,
and then
sure.
potentially somebody that's on the team can pop it into the chat as well, so people can just copy it from there.
Yeah, let me just write it in the chat. So it's at Samar Farooq 20.
Amazing, fantastic. So to follow up there, and I'm assuming that you've got some pictures of your calligraphy on that Instagram as well.
Yeah. Most of my pictures are, I mean, maybe not most because I do 2-3 scripts, but yes, there's all my pictures are about calligraphy mainly.
How long does it take you to do a script? To do a
Depends on individual student, to be honest. Really depends on how much effort and practice you're putting in. I think I finished the whole book within a year or maybe 15 months. Yeah, it really depends on an individual's creativity. And
Yeah.
of course, your teacher is the best judge of that.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
So we've got a comment in as well, saying what amazing skills you've got. And I would definitely agree, you have got some amazing skills. And earlier on in the chat as well, we had, I don't know whether it's a question or a comment, but just to say, so can we say that this is a freestyle calligraphy as it has no strict rules to follow?
Yes, I'll just take it out. So I'll just come back. It certainly doesn't have rules to follow like sulus and muhakkak and nasq, but it still needs to look balanced. Like for example, one of the rule was the ending really needs to be sharp. So there are some rules, but there's a lot more flexibility. And I think this is the only Arabic script, cursive script, because Fatimid is not non-cursive. You use pencil, rule, and compass. But this is the only cursive script where it's much more artistic. It has much more of an art flow rather than, really strictly looking at a very calligraphy piece.
Amazing. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for talking us through that today, Samar, and for showing those beautiful calligraphy at the end there. It really kind of brought it to life. Thank you very much. I think I'll hand back over now to our person from the team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for wonderful hosting. And Samar, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. I love the fact that you started with calligraphy quite late, and kind of life led you towards it. So, would you have any thoughts for to share with people who don't consider themselves as artists, but they do have creative souls? Perhaps they haven't discovered that gift just yet.
I would definitely say everybody is creative in their own respect, to be honest. There's nobody who's not creative. I don't believe in that. It's just a matter of exploring your creativity within you. So I think just give it a try. For example, I'm now going into geometry, into other types, because I'm just thinking, I've done calligraphy. I never knew I could do calligraphy. I never knew I could hold a pen or something. And here now I've got an ijaza. So maybe other things, if you don't try it, you just would never know what interests you. So I would just say, keep an open mind and try different things, and you'll get to a point where you know what you really enjoy, and then you'll pursue it.
I wouldn't say it any better. That's fantastic. It's especially relevant now when MACFEST has just launched arts awards for all Muslim artists. This year, we are inviting artists from the Northwest, all Muslim artists from the Northwest. So even those of you who are creative and you can maybe feel it, and you do have some artworks at home that you would like to show, head over to MACFEST website, to the Arts Awards page, and the submissions are now open. The deadline is 30th of June. So we do want to see your works, even if you don't consider yourself to be an artist. We do want to see your talent. And for those of you who are around next weekend, we've got a couple of events coming up. We've got tomorrow, the Ola Labib, fantastic comedian, in conversation with another stand-up comedian, Napspat. And then next week, we've got also a couple of really good events. When you look on Eventbrite, you can see the links to book your tickets. We've got Manchester Museum, and then on Saturday, and next Sunday, the 19th of May, we've got young people speaking out on environment. You've got to see those kids. They are absolutely amazing. And from me, just to say thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to see the calligraphy, especially the demonstration. Thank you again, Samar.
Thank you.